All right, so for this game, we have what is largely kind of an in and out game in the sense that we have a bunch of these trees and they're going to fit into one of these two parks, either park G or park L. That said, though, it's worth noting that this isn't quite a proper in and out game in the sense that some of these trees might not actually show up on the board at all, while others of these trees might duplicate as well. So it's not like a kind of situation where you have everybody has to go here or there, but not both, which is what the textbook kind of in and out game. This is not quite a proper in and out game, but in terms of the setup, it plays out the same way. So from there, let's keep going. So one thing that's worth noting here is that we are told up front, well, I guess not up front, it's the first rule, so I'm kind of running ahead, but we are told that we're going to have exactly 3 spaces under each park. And that's great. The fact that we have a spacing restriction is quite significant. And on top of that, we only have 4 trees. We know that we have M, O, S, T, which is huge. The fact that each of these 2 parks is going to have 3 trees out of 4 is insanely restrictive, and it's something that you want to definitely take note of right away, because really what this means is that each of these 2 parks can only have 1 tree that is not included. As soon as you know that one of the trees is not included, you automatically would know that everybody else has to be in that park. So that's quite powerful. From there, I guess let's take a look at the rest of these rules. So the second rule tells us that at least one of the parks has to have both M and S. So I guess we can say that we have to see an MS block, and we can clarify minimum of once somewhere on the board. Now, we could have M or S separately at some point, but one of the parks is definitely going to have an MS block. Next, any park that has oaks will also have to have tamarack. So if we have O, then we're essentially going to have an OT kind of block. Now, this kind of rule might seem not too significant at first, but it's worth noting that there's a very subtle deduction that can be made in this particular game based on this kind of rule. And LSAT likes to use this, I guess, pattern quite frequently. Now, what I'm referring to is that you'll notice that in this game, we have to pick 3 of 4 trees, as we said earlier. So only 1 tree can ever be out. Now, anytime you see this kind of situation where you're selecting essentially 1 less than the total, so 3 out of 4 or 4 out of 5 or 5 out of 6, whatever. And if in addition to that, you have a conditional rule that looks like this, that says that if you have one thing, then you also have to have another, you can make a minor deduction, and that's actually kind of significant, I suppose, that the other thing, the thing that you're bringing in, the one that's on the necessary side, is just permanently going to have to be in. Because consider the contrapositive here. What would it say? It would say that if you don't have a T, then you're not going to be allowed to have an O. So if you kick a T out of a given park, then you can't have O there either. But then that would be 2 trees that are out. And we can't do that. We can't kick out 2 trees from any other park because only one of the trees in any given park can ever be out, which means you cannot trigger this. T cannot be out or not in a park. T has to be in every park. I guess another way of looking at this is to say that, consider this, if you have an O, then you'll obviously have to have a T in that park, right? But if you don't have an O, well, then you'll still have to have T, because if you don't have an O, you'll have to have everybody else, which is M, S, and T. So no matter what, you end up with T in every park here. Now, once again, just to kind of recap the pattern that's worth recognizing here, if you're ever in a situation where you're choosing 1 less than the total, so for example, in this game, we're choosing 3 out of 4, but it could also apply to a game in which you're choosing, say, 2 out of 3, basically only 1 is out. If you have a conditional rule that says that if one thing is selected, then so is another, that should raise an eyebrow, and you can make a deduction there that the other thing, the one that is on the necessary condition, the one that you are pulling in, that one will permanently be one of the elements selected. Next, lastly, we are told that G just permanently has to have maples, so that's kind of nice. So we can say G, there's always going to be maples there. We can lock that in place. Now that might be the MS block, but I suppose it doesn't have to be. We could also have the MS block over here, and then this could instead be an O. So we have a little bit of flexibility there. So from there, let's take a look at the questions. So question number 12, what could be a complete setup of the game? So I suppose the first rule here was that everybody gets 3 varieties, but I think all of the answer choices follow that. The second rule told us that we have to have an MS block somewhere. So answer choice A looks fine, B does not. There's no MS block in answer choice B, so we can get rid of that. C, D, and E all have MS blocks, so we're good. Next, anytime you have to have an O, then you'll also have to have T as well. So A violates that because we have O's without T's there. Answer choice C also violates that because landing has O's without T's, so we can get rid of that. And D looks fine, we have an O but with a T, and E looks fine, we have an O but with a T. Lastly, G, Greystone has to have M's there, and answer choice D is fine. E, however, does not have an M under Greystone Park, so the best answer here is answer choice D, and I suppose as usual, let's just plug that into the board. So we have MST, and then we've got MOT. Next. So our first local question here looks like it's number 14. Let's see what we can do. If both parks have sycamores, so if we have S's on both sides, and we know that we have MT on Greystone and T on Landing, so I guess that would lock out Greystone completely, so that's done. And you would have to have S's on Landing as well. And in terms of the last spot, I suppose this could also be an M, and there might not be O's at all, since we don't have to have any of the trees necessarily. So we can have either O or M under there. So the question now asks which of the following could be true. Answer choice A, the number of parks with maples is equal to the oaks. Could we have an equal number of maples and oaks? And actually maybe, because I suppose this could be an oak over here, and then they would arguably be equal, so that's not too bad. Let's hold on to answer choice A. Just in case, let's take a look at the rest though. Answer choice B, the number of maples is more than the sycamores. Well, no, we've got 2 sycamores, so there's no way to have more maples than that. C, the number of parks with oaks is equal to the number with sycamores. And no, because we can really only have 1 oak over here, so we can't have an equal number. Answer choice D, Greystone has both maples and oaks, and no, that's definitely not happening right now. And E, Landing has maples and oaks, and no, we're going to have one of them, but not both. So the best answer choice to number 14 is A. Next question, I guess the rest of these are global, so let's take a look. Question number 13, what must be true? So we're looking for something that's permanently always true. Answer choice A, Greystone has sycamores, and we don't know that, not necessarily. This arguably could have been oaks as well. Answer choice B, Landing has maples, and again, not necessarily. Like over here, for example, we could have had oaks there instead. Answer choice C, Landing has tamaracks, and actually, yeah, I mean, everybody has tamaracks, so the best answer to question number 13 is C. Just in case, though, we can take a look at the rest. Answer choice D, the number of maples is equal to the number of sycamores. And does that have to be true? And no, because in this scenario over here, this could have easily been oaks, so the number of maples and sycamores could have been different. And answer choice E, the number of maples is greater than the number of sycamores. That also doesn't have to be true. They could be equal. We could have an MS block on both sides, and then we just wouldn't have any oaks. So once again, the best answer here was C. Next, question number 15. What must be false? So what can't happen? A, both parks have oaks. Now, could we have oaks on both sides? Actually, I'm not sure that we can, because if we have oaks on both sides, so this would lock, and then this would be an O, but then you would never have an opportunity for an MS block, would you? So that actually works. Answer choice A must be false. We cannot have both parks with oaks. Now, just in case, let's take the rest, although that's actually a good enough reason to pretty much run with answer choice A. But answer choice B, both parks have sycamores, and yeah, in fact, one of the questions asked about what would happen if that was true, so that easily could happen. Answer choice C, both parks have tamaracks. In fact, we know that to be true, so that's out. D, exactly one park has maples. And yeah, in this scenario, for example, we could have had maples here and oaks over here, so we could have had just one maple. And E, exactly one has sycamores. And yeah, in this scenario, for example, we could have easily had one S, and then this one gets MOT. So the best answer to question number 15, once again, is A. Lastly, number 16, what could be true? Answer choice A. The number of parks with oaks is equal to the number of parks with tamaracks. Could we have an equal number of oaks and tamaracks? Actually, no, we just kind of discussed that because we know that we have to have two tamaracks. So if we had two oaks, then you would have an O over here and an O over here, and then you would never have the opportunity for an MS block. So A is out. B, the number of parks with oaks is greater than the number of sycamores. Well, no, because we said we cannot have two oaks, and we definitely have to have at least one sycamore. So there's no way to have more oaks than sycamores. So answer choice B is out. C, exactly one tamarack, and no, we know that we have to have two of them. Answer choice D, neither park has tamaracks. What? No, we know that we have to have two of them. Answer choice E, both parks have the exact same trees. And yes, this last scenario, in fact, we could have had SMT over here, and this could have been an M, so we could have had SMT over there as well. We could have both parks be identical. Best answer to question 16 is E.